having fun, pero ikaw nagmumukmuk. O di kaya everybody's having fun and then you see one of your co-workers andun na sa sulok nagmumukmuk, nagsosolo, no, nag-iisa. Because that person chooses not to have fun. You know, pwedeng sabihin ko kay Miss Janet, for us to have fun, tumbling naman dyan, no? Cartwheel ka muna. Okay? But if everybody will have fun watching Miss Janet, but then if someone don't want to have fun, would choose not to have fun, that person will not have fun. So having fun is up to you. So if you want to create value for yourself this afternoon while having fun, then, you know, ang tanong dun is if you want to have 100% fun, so babalik tayo sa tip number 1. How much participation will you give? Okay? If you want to have 100% fun, how much participation will you give? Okay? Those are my tips. Tips to create value. And if you're going to take a look, thank you, Joanna. Second Joanna, 101%. Okay, so if you want to have 101% fun, then participate 101%. This is good not only for this webinar. If you're going to take a look at it, all these tips that I'm sharing with you is good for you to create value on a daily basis. You know, do you participate in the office? Do you participate at work? How much participation do you do? Do you give? Do you take notes? Are you mindful of what is happening in the workplace? Okay. Are you taking notes? Okay. Are you avoiding prejudice in the workplace? May it be on-site or online? Okay. Or pinangungunahan mo na ang mangyayari, or pinangungunahan mo yung mga tao, that's being prejudiced. So these tips are ways for you not just to create value for this afternoon, but also on a daily basis. Okay? So that's already something for all of you, and we haven't really started the webinar yet, or the main presentation. Okay, so those are my tips, and so let's begin. Okay, so let's begin. What is this balancing act of firm and flexible all about? Okay, so I would like to ask you, and the answers I'd like to see in the chat. Okay, so type in the chat. Answer this question. What is HR to you? Okay. Most of you, if not all of you, okay. Workforce, managing people. Okay, what is HR to you? Rochelle says managing people. Okay. Baka may sasagot, oh, HR is life. HR is life. HR is my career. Okay. Strategic partner, focus, people management, focus on people. Interacting with people, it is about connecting and interacting with people. Thank you, Raquel. Okay. Oh, it's a balance between management and people, investing in people, being a leader. Thank you, April, for that. Okay. Administering employee benefits. Okay, that's what HR is. Blood and heart of the organization. Okay, thank you. Okay, so, well, there's a lot. Okay, protecting your people. Satisfaction and retention of employees. Okay, Lizelle said it's an important part of the organization. Okay, HR is a second mother of employees. How true. Okay, our goal is to develop people and grow people. So you see, you do have not just the knowledge of what HR is. There's a depth to it. Okay? That's why nasasagot ninyo eh, what is HR to you? It's not just a job. It's not just a task. Your answers are saying that
Miss Jolinne, I think you were muted. You were on mute.
Mute. Okay. Okay. Unmute na ba ako? Okay. Okay. Can you hear me na? Yeah? Yes. Thank you very much, Landy. Okay. Thank you, Marie. Right. Okay. Now, since you have not just really a functional knowledge of HR, but a depth, then whatever I'm going to share with you in the next slide is like a review. Okay, and I got this from a book that I have. It's in for sure. I think this is one of the Bibles of HR. No? Gary Dessler's Human Resource Management, and he says, an organization has different function. In the organization, there's a management process, and in that management process are certain functions, and he identified 5 functions. Now, one is planning, organizing, staffing, leading, and controlling. Okay, so human resource management is first and foremost one of the functions of the in the management process of an organization that has goals. Okay, so human resource management is a function because it's one of the functions. It's one of the functions of a management process in an organization. So you're taking a look at staffing and personnel management. HR is also human resource management is also a process. It's there in the I hope you can see it in the slide. Now, it's a process of acquiring, training, appraising, compensating employees, attending to their labor relations, health and safety, and fairness concerns. Ako na lang po yung nag-highlight ng fairness concerns because that is specific to our topic for today. Kasi kaya natin na kino-concern ang sarili natin about being balanced. Are we firm? Are we flexible? Are we being fair? Okay? Because in anything that we do as HR, as leaders, as managers, HR managers, we have to exemplify, we need to show, we need to speak, we need to act with fairness. Okay? And in human resource management, of course, there's the manager. And human resource management is not specifically only for HR practitioners, but if you are a manager, even if you come from different departments in the organization, you would have to have a certain degree of knowledge of human resource management because it's people. Okay. Now, the manager in this case, if you are the human resource manager or you're a supervisor, the manager is the person responsible for accomplishing the organization's goals, who does so by managing the efforts of the organization's people. So if you notice, I also highlighted efforts. So you're not managing the people, you're managing the efforts of the people. Essentially, what do you do with people? You lead. Okay? You lead people. You don't manage people, you lead them. Okay? You lead people, you manage things. So in this case, managers, you manage the efforts of your people. And whenever you manage the efforts of your people, you lead them. Okay? So that's what you really do. As a manager, you lead. Now, as a manager, you're leading and you're managing the efforts of your people. But you know what a leader does? Now there are different being a leader and being a manager is one of those relationships that create results, which I'm going to show you in a while. There are different relationships that create results. One of those relationships is being a manager. Another relationship that creates results is being a leader. It says here that manager manages the efforts of the organization's people, but a leader gives direction. Okay? That's what a leader does. Sometimes the manager don't have to identify the goal, but a leader identifies that goal and gives direction as to how to go there, okay? How to get there. So next question would be, I want you to type in the chat. Okay? Please type in the chat. My question is, Who is a leader to you? Okay? So if you're going to take a look at leaders, who is a leader to you? What are their characteristics? No? Sino ba ang leader? Okay, so type in the chat. Okay, influencers. Thank you. Okay, so empowered people, leaders are empowered. Who motivates you to achieve? A role model. Thank you, Princess. April says mentors. Yes, leaders are mentors. They can be mentors. Miss Flor said advisors. Okay, that's one of the things that they do. Marlon says a guide. Mara says role model. Okay, so leaders are role models. They're someone who inspires, motivates, helps, and coaches also. A leader for me, oh, I am sorry, I wasn't able to catch that. Okay, a leader is one who is always 3 steps ahead. Yes, someone who takes charge, influence people, and encourage people. Coaching. Yes, Ms. Laura, thank you. Kevin says leaders are people in which others have confidence and respect. Yes. Annalyn said helps you towards growth and development. The one who encourages you. Thank you, Marielle. Okay, so you do have an idea. Yes, Richard says a good follower. Okay, always an example to people. So thank you very much. You do also have, you know, you know how it is to be a leader. It's not just that you have an idea, you know how it is to be one. You know, that's the beautiful thing, no? Is yes, Miss Lenny, we're going to get there because leaders, the real ones, the great ones, they create more leaders. Okay? So being good listeners. Thank you for all your answers. Your answers really are showing that you know how it is to be a leader. It's not just an idea for you. Okay? And so if we're going to take a look at it, next slide, please. You have, you know in your mind and you have a depth of what leadership is. Because leadership is action, not position. There are times when, ito personal ganito, there are times when I would think, I might not be in position, but if I have influence, I'd rather have that. Parang ganun, no? So, because in that way, there's a way for you to move people. There's influence. It's as if you have position. So even if you don't have the position, but if you act, you're a role model. Because leadership is action. The thing about action as a leader is that it has to be intentional, right? Okay, so let's take a look at leaders. Next slide, please. Leaders have a guiding purpose and overarching vision. So you cannot lead and give direction to your people if you don't have a guiding purpose for yourself and for your people, for your organization. You have to have that. Okay? When we talk about vision, it's not just a concept. Okay? The thing about vision is that you would have to be able to imagine that vision for yourself. Have a picture in your mind and lead others to see that. Okay? Okay, so have a vision, have an overarching vision, have a purpose. And for you, when you have a guiding purpose and overarching vision, you have a clear idea what you want, okay? Professionally and personally. Leaders also have the strength to persist in the face of setbacks, even failures. You know, this pandemic has held back, even, placed leaders in setbacks. Na I remember I know it's in an article by Seth Godin and by Fast Company. And one of the things he said, because I read this in the book of Gary Collins, it's Christian Coaching, and Seth Godin said that in the face of change, the competent are helpless. Okay? In the face of change, the competent are helpless. Leaders, leaders, when you reach a certain position, now you think because it's true, you do have certain competencies. Magaling ka na dun eh. And then change happens, and then wherever you are magaling at doesn't seem to count. Okay? So in the face of change, the competent are helpless. So what leaders need to do is to persist, is to be able to shift, is to be able to course through all whatever is in front of you, even if it's not your competence. Even if it would look like, okay, there's a setback. I will have to learn again, begin. Okay? So leaders have the strength to persist in the face of setbacks, even failures. And that they know where they are going and why. Such that even if there's pandemic, you know the pandemic, kung titingnan natin, it's really just one crisis. I'm not trying to water down, invalidate the gravity of the pandemic. No, what I'm saying is perhaps we're just giving it too much power, this pandemic. When in fact, if we're going to take a look at it na, it's one big change. It's changed. It just so happened it's big. Okay? But definitely, in spite of changes, if you know where you are going and you know why you're doing something, even if it's challenging, you know you're growing into a leader. Okay? Leaders also have integrity because their word counts. What do I mean? You can be trusted to do what you say you're going to do. Okay? That's why we say role model. And that's why we think that these leaders earn our respect. They have influence over us because we can count on what they say. Okay? They decide in their minds what is right and they act consistently. In whatever they say has congruence, it's aligned, hindi siya namin mismatch. Okay? So leaders also, if you're going to really take a look at leaders, the great ones, you're not really going to hear them talk a lot about morals and standards because they don't really need to talk about them because they just live it. I can't remember what is this saying that about, if you're a lady, you don't actually need to say you're a lady. You're just one. You just really act like one. Okay, so leaders, they don't really need to talk a lot about morals and standards. You can see it in their actions. You can see it how they are. Okay? It's their beingness already. So what are the marks of leadership? The marks of leadership is competence, respect, trust, courage, and yes, humility. What is humility? Sa totoo lang, no? Humility is not bringing yourself down. Hindi mo o-okra yung sarili mo. You're not going to degrade yourself or you're going to lower yourself. That's not humility. That's false modesty. Humility is being able to accept all the blessings that have been given you, all the gifts. You have the ability to accept your strengths. You have the ability to accept the things that you need to learn because it's not your strength. And so you are able to, when you're able to accept, this is what I am, this is what I am not, and I'm okay with both, that's leadership. Okay? That's being humble about, I have this, I don't have this, but I'm okay. Okay? So, yeah, so that's leaders for all of us. And I do believe that you have not just an idea, but you already know what it is. Okay? Now, on your notebook, this is another activity. Although you don't need to put it in the chat, but on your notebook, if you do have a notebook, I hope you do. If you do have a piece of paper with you and a pen, kindly write this down. Okay? Write this down on your notebook on a piece of paper. List down at least 5 names of people you consider a leader. Okay? Think. Tingnan natin. Sino para sa inyo? Lista nyo yan. Lista nyo. Sino yung 5 tao na para sa'yo leader? Okay, I'll give you just a few seconds for that, not just a few moments for that. Write down at least 5 names of people you consider a leader. Okay? This is exciting. Sino kaya yung in-name nyo? Okay? Okay. Now, no, you don't need to drop their names po, Miss Erica. You don't need to put it in the chat. No. It will be for your personal consumption. It's for your just for you. It's for your eyes only. But in the list that you have, oh, thank you. I'm sorry I wasn't able to catch your name, but sabi niya, pag leader, naiisip niya dad niya. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Ryan said mother and father. No, you don't need to type it in the chat, but thank you for the ones who are sharing. Huh? Miss Erica, it says God is the leader for her. Okay. Now, let's take a look at the list that you have. Okay. Run your site through the names, the list. This is my question to you. Nandyan ba pangalan mo? Did you write your name? Put it in the chat. Yes, no lang yon. Yes or no? Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Dayanara said yes. Jenny said no. Okay. No. Miss Lovely said yes. Okay. Yes. No. Carlita said no. Miss Mara said no. Marisa said yes. Erlinson, no, I forgot. Okay. So, you see, in this activity, though simple, it is quite telling how we see ourselves in an automatic basis. Okay? I do hope you're going to include your name in that list. For some of you, perhaps your name is at the top of the list. Leaders know when they are leaders and they're not apologetic about it, nor leadership would mean they have to put others down. You know, if you did not put your name there, that's something to reflect on. No? Perhaps some of you forgot. Parang, ay, oo nga pala. No? Perhaps it's also a way for you to see na we're so used to providing information or names of greatness or strengths or mga papuri. Kapag purihan ang usapan, affirmation ang usapan, praising people ang usapan, hindi natin naiisip ang sarili natin. Okay? But leaders know. Okay? So that's just something for you to ponder. Because it will be challenging for you to balance being firm and being flexible, or how to simply balance decisions, simply being able to balance whatever concerns you have. If there's no solid footing as to where you are. Okay? So I hope this is like an eye opener for you. Because you know, guys, you actually are leaders already. If you know how to lead yourself, you can, and you are. Okay? So let's take a look at that. Next slide, please. Now, good leaders. How do we know if we're being leaders? Now, we're good leaders when we have learned how to think, how to see situations clearly, how to be creative. Because when you're creative, you're flexible. Okay? Now, once you've learned those things, you're growing into being a good leader. But you know what great leaders are? Great leaders. Ito yung narinig ko kanina, no? Great leaders have the ability to produce new leaders. And great leaders, they don't just produce any kind of leader, they produce effective ones. Okay? Effective leaders. When leaders could inspire people to step up and be effective leaders, then you can see if your leadership has taken a step higher. If you're able to produce people that are effective performers. How do you know if they're effective performers? Is if they can be on their own. Okay? On their own, they create results. On their own, they perform well. Okay? So when they're being effective that way, then yeah, you're becoming a great leader, or you are a great leader because you have produced leaders that are effective. Okay? Now, one of those things that we can take a look at, because when you say that effective performance of these leaders would mean that they can be on their own. Okay? That's where coaching comes in. Even I hope you get to read the book It's the Manager by Jim Clifton and another Jim. Uh, the one behind Clifton Strengths. So take a look at that book. It's the Manager, and It's the Manager says that coaching is an essential skill now. It has always been actually. It's a key element. Gary Collins says also in his book Christian Coaching, he says that coaching is a key element in producing leaders, and that coaching is a significant form of leadership. Later on, perhaps some of you have an idea what coaching is, and as a leader, you do coach your people, yeah. And so I'm going to show you more. Probably just give you an overview because whenever I train coaches, yung iba 1 whole week intense. In some coaching trainings, it will take months. Yeah? For me, I don't stop. I just keep on growing myself. I just keep on attending all these trainings just for me to improve my craft. Okay, so next slide, please. Coaching is. So what is coaching? Coaching is first and foremost a relationship. Okay? Coaching is a relationship. What's it for? It is intended to create results. But the intention comes from the player, the coachee, the employee, the staff, or whoever you're coaching. Okay? It's their intention. It's their goal. Yes, you do have company goals. Okay? But there is that part from the player na sa kanya nanggagaling. And whenever that intention comes from the coachee, the player, the results will be at the level of excellence. And the results he gets independently. See? Thus becoming effective. Thus becoming an effective leader. That's why coaching is a key element in leadership. Okay, so yes, coaching is a relationship intended to create results at the level of excellence. Hindi pwede na yan. No? Hindi ganun na excellence. Excellence is pwede. No? This is it. It's it. There is a book of excellence, a book on excellence. Yes, I remember. There's one quote there. Excellence is not having to do things twice. So when you're so set, you know that this is it. Hindi to pwede na. Kasi pag pwede na to, parang, sige, may backup plan naman tayo. Or sige, try na lang natin ulit. No. At the level of excellence, now, I'm not saying excellence is perfection. I'm sorry, it's not. Excellence is not perfection. But if you do things excellently, perfection is a possibility. What is excellence? Excellence is simply, when you do something with extra mile, when you do something at your best, at your peak, then you're being excellent. And whenever you keep on doing that, is it not perfection possible? Right? So excellence is not perfection. But if you do things excellently, then perfection is a possibility. Right? Okay. So, and when you do that always, then you can see those effective performers being independent. Then those are leaders. Okay. So these are, next slide, please. There are the other relationships that create results. At least the ones that we have taken a look at is being a manager, being a leader, being a coach. And I mentioned to you at the beginning of this webinar is I'm taking a look at leadership as parenthood. So, parents, yes, by the way, I'm actually a part of the Ministry of Solo Parents in our parish. And, even if solo parents are, even if we haven't really given birth biologically, I'm tita, I'm lola, as long as I have a child under my care, I'm a parent, I'm a solo parent. And so, but I do have a son, right? I do have a son. He's an excellent boy. He's not just good looking, he's not just intelligent, but what I love most about my son is his heart. Okay, so leadership for me is like parenthood. Because if you're a leader in the company, for example, okay, you're the parent of that company. Okay? You're a parent of your department if you're the leader, if you're the one in position, okay? If you're the authority there. Okay? So these relationships, they create results. They have certain, there's similarities and there are also different dynamics in terms of objectives, in terms of goals. Okay? Just for you to have an idea. Okay, now, since we're talking about leaders, and you are, okay, and leaders, one of the things that is essential to you is for you to be able to balance. Okay? So, I'm going to ask Miss Janet to flash the next slide. It's about balance. And definitely we're going to use Menti. Let's use Menti again. And this time, we're going to take a look at what do you normally balance nga ba? Bakit nyo nga ba gustong mag-balance? No, other than, of course, the topic is balancing firmness and flexibility. What do you normally balance? Okay, number one, in the workplace. Now, there are three places I'm taking a look at, but number one, in the workplace, when you're on site, when you're in the office. Okay, so Miss Janet will give you the code, and let's answer through Menti. Let's see what do you normally balance. Let's see, that would be fun to take a look at. Okay, so 95411010 is the code for the Menti. Let's see, what do you normally balance in the office? Politics? Are you balancing my lunch break or my merienda? Which one will I take? Because I have too much to do. Okay. Yung inuutos ni boss o yung isinisingit ng so, no? Will I do this or ito, no? Office politics, sabi ni Elizabeth. Edwin says, my calories. My calorie intake. Diba? Ang dami mo. Ay, sarap mo naman. Ang dami mo pang calorie intake. Okay. Okay. So what else do you balance? Will I eat now? Will I eat later? Diba? Magla-lunch na ba ako? O tatapusin ko muna to? Okay, what are you trying to balance? Time and workload. Okay, so you're trying to balance time and workload. Too much workload or too much time. Diba? Ang dami-dami kong oras. Nabobore na ako. Ganyan. Okay? Workload. The boss. Paano mo binabalance yung boss? Okay, relationship with co-workers. How do you balance the boss? Do you have plenty bosses? Kasi may ganun, di ba? Parang ang dami-dami mong boss, ang hirap balansehin, sino unahin. So, it could be that. Di ba? Pwede yun eh. Okay, so what other answers do we have? Oo nga, yung iba, maraming boss. Hindi alam sino uunahin kasi lahat sila demanding. Okay, balancing the management requirements. Yes. No? Okay. Hindi pa nagagawa. Tapos, kasalanan mo pa talaga, di ba? Pagawa ng pagawa. Tapos, pag hindi pa natapos yung unang pinagawa, kasalanan mo. Hindi mo nagawa eh. Right? So, how will you balance that? I think there is how to balance your inis. Kalmado ka ba? Maiinis ka ba? Palalampasin mo ba o manggigera ka na ba? No, it would be probably that. Now, how are you balancing that off? The management and perspective. Management perspective for you, yes. There are times when you need to balance how the management perceives something and how the staff does. No? That's why the beauty of being HR, you're like the link. Okay? Gusto na lang umuwi agad. Okay, so that's the balancing time. And probably something else because you want to be able to go home agad-agad. Okay, time and workload. So there's a lot of, yes, expectations, balancing expectations, co-worker attitude. So that perhaps is also politics in a way. Okay, so there's a lot of questions about how to balance time and workload. So thank you very much for all your answers. Thank you. So now we have an idea. So those are the things that you balance when you're on site, when you're in the office, when you're physically inside your office or the workplace. Now, my next question is this. What do you normally balance naman when you work from home? Okay. What do you normally balance when your work from home? Okay. When you're online, because your work is online. Okay. What do you normally balance? So I think Miss Janet will will also come up with a mentee, but there are some already answering in the chat, okay? Workload, household chores, totoo yan. Okay? Gagawin mo ba yung report o magpa-plancha ka muna? Time and family. What do you mean kaya about time and family? Too much time at work even if you're at home, no? So you don't know how to balance that off. Chores versus work. How challenging. Madali sana kung nasa office, edi office work. Pero pag nasa bahay na yung work, anong uunahin mo? Diba? Kasi yun yung sinasabi yung blurred na yung lines. Okay. Personal agenda. Yes. Okay. Will I actually work? Hindi naman nila ako kita eh. Can I just do stuff for me? Huh? So, okay. So, there are a lot of things also. So, see, we're taking a look at what we're seeing is that when work is brought to the house, iba ngayon yung binabalanse nyo. Okay? Paperwork, tapos module pa ng anak, diba yan? So, from mentee duties, yes. Work duties or mommy duties, daddy duties, all those different types of duties. You know, your hats, diba you wear different hats. There are times when you're a mom, you're a dad, you're a sister, you're a cousin, you're an HR manager, you're an HR assistant, you're an HR supervisor, and then all of a sudden you don't know when to wear that hat. That's when you are saying, okay, how will I balance this off? Because it's all in the house. I'm in the house, but I have to wear my HR hat. I'm in the house. I'm supposed to be, no? Just like what you said, balancing expectation. I have an expectation from myself that I'm supposed to be a mom while I'm in the house. I'm supposed to be the dad. Pero, at this very moment, my son is crying. Will I be a dad or will I be an HR practitioner? Kasi it's office hours. Okay? So these are like, iba ngayon yung binabalance nyo na. Okay? Distractions, yes. Problems ng kids. Diba? Pag nasa work from home, parang ura-urada, kailangan mo nang tingnan agad yung problema ng mga anak mo. Hindi katulad ng pag nasa office ka lang. Minsan pwede mo pang sabihin na, pag-uwi ko na lang. Right? Oh yeah. For some of you, you have fur babies. So, you have your family, yung tao. You have your work. You also have pets. So those pets are not necessarily or generally allowed in the offices. So, but then you're working at home, so you have that too. Okay, so these are the things that you're trying to balance at home. Now, this time, last question about balance. What are you now balancing? If yung work ninyo is sort of like blended. There are times when you are asked to be in the office, and there are times when you are work from home. So what do you balance this time? No? So either you answer through Menti, and some are answering through the chat. So that's my last question regarding what are you normally balancing. So it's time. Carlito says it's time. Okay, changes on the travel time. Yes, waking up. Diba? Para kang hindi lahat ng nagkaka-concern about waking hours is they're not all call center. Even the ones who are not in the call center, parang gigising ako maaga today. Kahapon I don't need to. But yeah, you just need to balance it off. You need to adjust. So that's what you need to balance when it's blended. For some, thank you for all your answers. Na ibang usapan din or parang nagkakaroon ng ibang factors when your concerns kapag ang working ninyo would be both in the office and at home, pag blended siya. So thank you very much for all your answers. So see, may difference talaga na there's a difference. That's why iba ang concern ngayon. Pero you know what? Same balancing. Mukhang iba lang ang binabalance nyo. But essentially, it's actually the same factors that you need to consider when you're balancing. Okay? Now, when it comes to, so tingnan natin. So you know what you're trying to balance. Now, this is my next question. Next slide, please. My question is, so what happens? Now, what happens when you don't balance what you need to? So, what gives? Anong bumibigay? What's the price to pay? What happens kapag hindi ka nakakapag-balance? Okay? You be specific, please. No? Type in the chat. Okay? Can cite examples. Okay? Not only time, also food. Health. Yes, health gives. No? Nagkakasakit ka kapag hindi ka nakakapag-balance. Health, hindi man sakit. Diba? Lagi masakit ulo. Sakit ng ulo, umiikot yung tiyan, nagpapalpitate, yan. Nasa stress. April said, nasa stress. Now, yeah, feeling stressed. In the chat, you're going to see the code that Miss Janet shared with us if you'd like to answer through Menti. Okay, so what gives? No? Expectations. No? There are expectations. Mara said, thank you. Thank you very much for AR. Carlita said stress. Mara said expectations. May expectation yung boss mo, may expectation yung workmates mo, may expectation ka sa sarili mo, and that gives way. No? It affects your mental health. Thank you very much, Harold. And so, naapektuhan na how you think. I'm not saying you go crazy. No? What I'm saying is, it's just affecting really how you think. About what? Sometimes it's affecting how you think about yourself. Some people, they get anxiety attacks. Yes, thank you very much, Maricar. Some people, kahit hindi anxiety attack, akala nila anxiety attack. No? Because it's something new. And, well, anxiety attacks, it just happens. No? So, when we talk about it affects how you think, no? It decreases your productivity. And so, when it affects your productivity, it affects your performance, you tend to think, wait, hindi na ba ako magaling? Parang, is there something wrong with me? And so it affects how you think of yourself. And once the way that you think about yourself is affected, right, you also get a skewed way of looking at others, at looking at your workmates, at looking at the office, the company, no? Because it has skewed the way that you see yourself. And so, yes, those are the things that give way, no? That it bumibigay siya kapag hindi ka nakakapag-balanse. Now, diba, nagiging doubtful sa sarili, bumababa yung moral, nadidemoralize, na minsan kahit anong uplift ng kumpanya, nadidemoralize ka pa rin, nafe-feeling bad ka pa rin. O di kaya, you know, if hindi mo mabalanse ang bahay concerns, work concerns, pet concerns, no, love life concerns, all these things may bumibigay. No? There's always something that gives way if you don't know how to balance. No? Minsan na may mental block. Parang, ano gagawin ko na? Until you feel like you're stuck. And then when you think you have mental block, you feel you're stuck, then you question your abilities again. So you question yourself and you tend to doubt yourself. Okay? That's just one of those things that give way. There's a lot that gives way when you don't balance. Okay? Now, what happens naman? So those are like price to pay, no? We wouldn't want, it depends if you want to pay that price, then go on, keep status quo, don't balance anything. But let's take a look at the other side of the spectrum. Now, what if you could actually balance? Okay? What is the value for you? Now, so next slide, please. What is the value for you when there is balance? Kapag nababalanse mo, anong itsura nun? I'd like you to be specific. What does it look like when you're balanced? When you can balance off all these factors. All these, yeah, confidence, yes. But how does confidence look like? Okay? So let's see. I'd like you to be specific. Anong nangyayari? Huh? Harmony, love, excitement, yes. It's becoming smooth, yes. At peace, nice aura, you feel relaxed. Ay, prettier me, yes. So yan, you feel content. No, you smile, yes, that's what I mean. So now you feel satisfied, so you smile more. No, you feel prettier. Okay, when you're relaxed, what do you mean? So when you say fulfilled, how does that look like? Okay, you feel like you're ageless. Ay, pabata ng pabata. So you look like you're blooming. Okay? You feel motivated, you do more. Okay? You can watch Netflix. You feel like, para kang nag-collagen. Ryan said, you look like, I feel like and look like as if I have collagen. You become more productive. Yes, thank you, Maricar. Crystal said, I feel like I can do more. Okay? You're laughing at work, yes, Miss Erica. Thank you very much. No, so when you feel like you can balance anything, you laugh more. You smile more. Okay? You feel motivated and so you can do more. You're always excited to do your responsibility. Okay? So how does that excitement look like? Now, when you say you meet expectations, what does it look like? Okay? The direction, you're enjoyed and you're motivated. How does that look like? Yeah. So, let's hear from some. No? Ano nga bang itsura nun? You can make daldal to the highest level. Thank you, Miss Erica. Diba? When you're so excited, when you're so happy, parang tagisan na ng ano, that you actually, probably people will actually tell you to shut up already, but you just become more creative. You know, yung nakaka-chill ka talaga. You can actually see yourself resting. You can actually see yourself taking a pause. Nakakatawag ka sa workmates mo, nakakapangamusta ka, no? You can actually eat. Nakakakain ka on time. Nakakakain ka in the first place. Okay? So, you see, you know how balance looks like. You know the value of having balance. Okay? So, let's take a look at that. Now, if you notice, I'm taking a look at the title itself. Now, kanina we took a look at HR, leaders, and now let's take a look at the balancing act. Okay, next slide, please. When you're taking a look at the balancing act, it's an act. First and foremost, it's an act. Okay? Ito ay isang pagkilos. At yung pagkilos na to, dapat may intention. Because it's a balancing act. You need to be intentional. Sinasadya ang pagkilos ng pagbabalanse. Okay? And when you say that there is an intention, sinasadya mo ito dahil may purpose ka. You have a layunin behind your action. Which brings us to balancing act. If it's an action, so a balancing act doesn't happen on its own. Okay? You cannot say, I have balance or there's balance and it magically appeared. No. A balancing act, next slide please, becomes a state or a condition, isang kalagayan, if and only if there was action involved. Because it doesn't magically happen. It's not an accident. No? It doesn't happen to you. You make it happen. Now, what is a balancing act when it becomes a state or a condition? No? It's a kalagayan ng balance. There's equal, no? There's equality, there's equilibrium, pantay. May punto, there's a point of balance. You know when you see, just like in the picture, there's that point, that equilibrium point, that when you stay there, you're not going to tip. Okay? So there's a steadiness, no, matatag. Okay? And so, next slide, please. What we're going to take a look at is really, balancing act is not so much a tug of war. Supposed to be. Okay? It's not supposed to be a tug of war sa sarili mo. If you see in the first picture, it's like you tugging war, tugging at a tug of war between you and yourselves. It's also not a tug of war between you and your co-workers. It's also not a tug of war against your family, nor is it a tug of war between you and the situation. It's not supposed to be a tug of war. Nor, di ba? Kasi kanina kung pagbalanse ka, makikita mo, you actually look pretty. Parang ayaw mong maging kamukha niyan, di ba? You wouldn't want to look so agitated and so stressed and so agitated. Ganyan. Next slide, please. Okay. Did you see yung agit na batang yan? Okay, next slide. You don't need to always be me versus this. This situation versus this. Me against the pandemic. Right? Me against my boss. Me against my wife. Me against the shouting of my son. It doesn't have to always be a choice between the two, no, or there's always a contention between the two. Nor Next slide, please. Nor being firm and flexible. It's really not a question between firm and flexible. It's not a choice between the two. It is a challenge between having to align, integrate, okay? Because, next slide, please. If you're going to take a look at your, in the picture in front of you, no? The heart and the mind, when it's aligned, hindi siya kailangan mag-away. Hindi siya kailangan maging at odds at each other. No? Next slide, please. And yeah, next slide, please. If you're going to take a look at it, when the mind is disciplined to align with the heart, alchemy happens, like magic happens. And so we are going to take a look at that. You know, what do we need to do? We need to train our minds to be always in alignment with our heart. Okay? Because it's not about choosing between what is here and what is here, but it's to align that. Okay? Next slide, please. Okay. Now, Miss Janet, kindly to skip to the slide with a puzzle piece. I think that's slide 35. Okay, so here it's yes. So if we're going to take a look at it, work at home, work in the office, work, I mean, narinig nyo work-life balance, work-life balance. It's not really work-life balance. Next slide, please. It's really how you could integrate, align your working self with everything else. Because your work actually is a part of your life. It's not like you're not alive when you're not working. Diba? Parang hindi naman nakasegregate yun. Hindi naman nakahiwala yun. So, yes, everything else has to be in alignment. Everything is a part of the whole puzzle. And all of these parts of yours, I mentioned you have several hats. All those hats are your hats. Different roles that you play, being a mom, being a dad, being a sister, a brother, an uncle, a grandfather, all of that. Okay? It's all you. It doesn't mean that you stop being a father when you're at work, nor do you stop being an HR person when you're in the house. Okay? Especially now that it's work from home. There's a lot work from home. There's still, of course, work in the office, but you see, it doesn't really, it's the same thing. Even if you're working at home, even if you're working in the office or it's blended, you're still the same person. Okay? So the thing is to take a look at it that way. Take a look at it that way. You're not at odds with any part of you. It has to be that you can, na sabi nga, I'm sorry, I wasn't able to catch your name, but self-management and balance, yes. No? You need to manage the effects of all that. No? Effects of all the different parts of your life. Now, okay, so how would you do that? Okay, so how will I know what to balance? If it's all me, if it's all me, that na all those parts of me I have to balance. So I would, being firm is me. Being flexible is me. I'm not saying I'm just firm. I'm not saying I'm just flexible. Pareho naman akong ganun. Okay? So when will that come to play? Now I have an exercise for you. Okay, so let's do an exercise. Okay? And in this exercise, next slide please, we're going to take a look at values. So if we're going to talk about you, let's take a look at your values. And there's a thing about values. You have your personal values and you have your organizational values. But let's take a look at you first. So what are values? These are your beliefs, philosophy, your mission, anything that is of worth, of value, of meaning to you. So what I'm going to ask you to do is on your notebook or on the piece of paper that you have, list down, make a list. Okay? List down your personal values. All your personal values. um, IM. Mga IMs. No? Oh, I think I do have. Kindly, next slide please, Miss Janet. I have a prompter, kumbaga, no? In the next slide, there's a list. There's a lot of lists out there, but this list can help you. This is not, well, hindi to nakataga sa bato. This is not the end all be all, but this is just a guide, a prompter for you to choose. What are your values? What are these? What do you value most for you? Now, I'll give you just a few minutes for that. List down your personal values. For me, important sa akin ang vision. Highly important for me actually is purpose, creativity, passion, and excellence is, you see, excellence. Is it in the list? Excellence is not in the list, but I hold that important to me. So even if it's not in the list, if it's something that you value, list it down. Okay? Write it down. No, there's no limit, just list it down. Okay? Although there's a limit sa time. Of course, we cannot spend the whole afternoon listing down all the things that you value. Okay? Okay. Okay. Pens down, as if I can see you, right? From that list, I would like you to choose your top 10. Kung umabot ka sa more than 10, choose your top 10. How will you choose? If you want to encircle it, if you want to put an asterisk behind it, if you want to, yes, you listed 11, good for you. So you could choose your top 10, less than 1. Okay? Kung hindi ka umabot sa 10, then perhaps we could move to choose your top 5. From the top 10, choose your top 5. Again, if you'd like to encircle that, you put a symbol behind it, like a star, an asterisk, a check, or however it is, a square. Okay. So what's your top 5? From the top 10, choose your top 5. Okay. Up the challenge tayo. Okay, let's up the challenge. From your top 5, choose top 3. Okay. For some, this is quite challenging already. But it's all important to me. Now you choose. What's your top 3 from the top 5? Okay, vision, purpose, expectation. Great. Thank you, Maricar. Okay. So that's your top 3. Kaya pa? Kaya pa? Choose your top 1. From the top 3, choose your top 1. Okay, thank you, Erlinson. Faith. Maricar says purpose became the top 1. Okay. For some, it might be challenging. Don't worry. Don't punish yourself for not being able to choose one. That's fine. Okay. Faith, integrity, soul. Okay. Marjoy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Marami siya. Diba? Sherry Jane said leadership. Leadership is top 1. Okay. For some, it's integrity. For Nito, I think it's compassion. What's this? Responsibility. Ryan said responsibility. Okay. Helen said, Roger said soul. Helen said focus. Yeah. Marlon said honesty. Now, thank you very much for all your top values. Okay. So now the challenge here is for you to, now how do you know if it's if it's a value for you? An example is, the next slide. For example, someone gives you a 1,000 pesos na check note. 1,000 pesos. Sabihin ka na, binibigyan kita ng 1,000 pesos. Do whatever you like with it. Okay? Where will you spend it? What will you do with it kaya? Okay. Whatever it is that you use that money for, it's a way for you to know if that is something important for you. Okay? So, if family is important to you, you share it with your family. If charity is important to you, perhaps you're going to give it to a charitable institution. Okay? If singing is important for you, if talent is important for you, perhaps you're going to use it to get lessons. Okay? For some, yeah, it really is dependent on the values that you have. Right? So what I'm saying here is your actions, the way that you speak, the way that you move, your behavior, it's coming from your values. Kasi kung hindi ka naman, if it's not important to you, why will you do it? Okay? If it's not important to you, then why will you say what you say? Why do you speak in a certain way if it's not important to you? Okay? So your values is shown in your actions. Okay? And in your speech. It's heard in your speech. The way that you write your letters, the way that you write your email, the way that you speak to your coworkers, the way you speak to your children, the way you speak to your spouse, okay? The way that you, as simple as how do you submit your reports? I remember because I'm from fine arts in UP, and I have this classmate. Paper to him is sacred. So, galit na galit yan sa amin kapag may kahit konting lupot yung corner ng paper, he's mad as hell. Because for him, it's important. Okay? So it's as simple as that. How do you submit your reports? You submit it half-heartedly, haphazardly, excellent? No. So it shows what you value. Now, from your top 3 list, no, okay? So this is how you could make use of this exercise in a way to know how to balance. Okay? So for each of the value, pero top 3 lang doon sa top 3. For each of that, so you have 3. Dito sa top 1, top 2, top 3, sulat mo, for some, a lot of you said honesty, for example, top 1 is honesty. What does honesty look like? Okay? Honesty looks like speaking kind words. Honesty looks like totoo lang yung sinasabi. Honesty looks like correcting my workmate kapag mali. Mga ganyan. So, it depends on how that value looks like to you. How do you express that value? How does it manifest? Okay, so write that down. Have a list. Beside each of the value, what do you mean by that? When you said number 1 value to you is faith, okay, what does faith look like? Is it going to church every day? Is it praying morning, evening, noontime? How does faith look like to you? Is faith saying grace before you eat? Okay. How does integrity look like? Pag nag-promise ka, you're going to move heaven and hell to just keep the promise? How does integrity look like? Okay. So for your top 3 values, take a look at that. Okay. Why am I asking you to do this? Because the first thing that we see in a person is behavior. Diba? Kapag may nakita kang or may narinig kang nagmumura, okay? Pag may nakita ka, may narinig kang nagmumura, tapos nakasigaw, tapos galit, parang, okay, ano kayang binavalue niya? Okay? But, see, that's the thing. We express our values differently. Okay? Remember that. We might share the same value, but we express it differently. And so, that comes to that point wherein we really cannot judge. Okay? So it's a way for you to balance your reactions. It's a way for you to balance your emotions, your thoughts. Kapag kontra yung what you think and how you feel, it's a way for you to be mindful of it or put a context to it. Because remember, your values, though some values you share with other people, it's expressed differently. For example, pareho natin bina-value ang family. If you value your family, mag-overtime ka. If you value your family, you're going abroad. Okay? For some, I value my family, so I make sure alas 5 pa lang umuwi na ako. Okay? So, you see, same value, different expression, different behavior. So if you're going to keep that in mind, it will help you balance things off for you. So it doesn't have to always be a contention. Okay? Okay. So now let's take a look at, so that's a way for you to take a look at your personal values. Now, next slide, please. Let's take a look at your organizational values. The organizational values, definitely it's there, right? So, sana, sana, very clear, or I do hope, first and foremost, if your organization even have core values, okay? I hope your organization have identified the values that are important as an organization. Okay? Because there are times, so in the slide, I'm asking you to recall, review, or revisit what each value mean or look like. Okay? I'm just taking a look at the time. Okay? So I have 15 minutes before 4 o'clock. I hope I'll be done with this, because if you would like to have time to have a coaching session with me this afternoon, pwede naman. Okay? So, take a look at the organizational values that you have and tingnan nyo how they spell it out. And so, see how you could integrate, assimilate, or perhaps identify kung talagang mismatch kayo ng values ng organization niyo. You see, that's the thing. When you see things clearly, minsan, yung clarity, minsan hindi mo gusto yung nakikita mo. It's clear, but sometimes it's not always the best picture. So what we're doing now in this exercise is for you to be clear with your personal values and then taking a look at that with your organizational values and see how do you work together. So you don't also have to be against the company. You would know how to work with them. And if they're being difficult, some members of the organization is being difficult, then take a look at the organizational values side by side with yours and see, may mismatch ba? Does it match or is there a mismatch? Okay? Okay, so how do you balance? Okay, so how do you balance? Next slide, please. So how do you balance your organizational values, your personal values, the mind and the heart, your sense and your feelings, work and home? Okay. I will have to skip some of the slides that we have, Miss Janet. Okay, so I'm going to skip to slide number 50. Okay. Slide number 50 po. Okay. Okay, so how do you balance? One of the things that you need to know so you would be able to balance is to know your boundaries. Your personal values state what is important to you. And so if it's important, ito importante sa akin, and this will not cross the line. Okay? So when I speak of boundaries, these are the questions that you can take a look at. Okay? What are your negotiables and non-negotiables? My family is a non-negotiable, so my time is also non-negotiable. I make sure that I go home on time. That's yours. Okay? My family is important to me, and so even if I'm work from home, I create boundaries. It's non-negotiable that when it's working hours, I will make sure that I'm working because I would like to let my children know that it's good because I love my family. They're important to me. I want to teach them lessons that is not only spoken, but lived. So if I know how to discipline myself and my family is important to me, then these boundaries I will create. And I will determine which is non-negotiable and what is negotiable. Another way to take a look at that is, what do I allow? What do I not allow? Will I allow my staff to shout, bash me online, speak against me behind my back? Now, what do I allow? What do I not allow? Or do I allow my staff, because honesty is important to me, integrity is important to me, humility is important to me, compassion is important to me. So I allow them to give me feedback without them thinking na nanganganib yung trabaho nila. I'm going to make sure it's okay for them to give me feedback. Okay, so when you speak of boundaries, ask yourself, what are my negotiables and non-negotiables? What do I allow? What do I not allow? And another way to ask that is, what is the price I'm willing to pay? So if I'm balancing being firm and being flexible, will I be firm? Will I be flexible? If I'm willing to pay the price of being able to get the results I want, I'm going to be firm. But I have other values. I have a value of compassion. And so I'm going to be firm. Do this. I need this by tomorrow. How will I be flexible? I'm not going to be the stiff person, but I'll be flexible. Okay, so what help do you need? Do you need, I need it by tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Okay, how will you be flexible? Okay, submit it to me through email. Submit it to me bound. Or however it is that you can think of that you can marry both. Because remember, you have several values. There's a value connected to other values and even your strengths. No? Your strengths. Kung saan ka magaling, hindi ka lang naman doon magaling. Magaling ka rin dito. So if you're magaling being firm, believe that you can be magaling also being flexible. You can. So when you integrate it, it's really not a question of maakaangat yung isa. No, it's how you're going to integrate both. Okay? As long as you know your negotiables and non-negotiables, your boundaries. Okay? And if that decision gives you peace of mind, then you balance it off. Quits, quits. Whatever, well, in one of the slides, as I end the presentation in a while, it's really what you could live with. Okay? Whatever you could live with. You know, rule of thumb. Whatever you could live with. You want to be firm, you want to be flexible, you want to integrate both, whatever you could live with in a decision. Okay? Stand by it. Accountability. That's the key. You have your boundaries, be accountable for your boundaries, panindigan mo yun, and kung medyo sumablay yung decision mo, take accountability for it. That's how you balance. Okay, so all these boundaries, is it bound by love? That's the question there. So, but ang tanong, parang ano to parang slum book, parang scrapbook. What is love? Okay. May I ask, no? What is love? Just a few answers from the chat. What is love? Okay. Love is a many splendored thing. Love is giving. Okay. What is love? Love is blind. Randy said it's blind. Okay. What is love? It's unconditional and complete. Okay. It's unconditional. Thank you, Edwin. Maria said it's commitment. Okay. Helen is an ocean that never dies. Oh, someone is poetic. Okay. So we have all our definitions of love. We have our ideas of love. But one thing is for sure. Thank you, Marlon. It's commitment. Okay. Judy said it's a decision. Okay. Remember this. Love is an act of the will. Pagkilos, it's an act ng ano, of the will, my willingness. So kung ito ay pagkilos ng kagustuhan ko at gusto ko to, then it's a choice. That's why when people say love is a decision, love is a choice, because it's an act of the will. And if it is a will, I choose it, then I will commit to it. That's why love is a commitment, because love is a choice. And when you choose something, regardless if it's going to entail sacrifice, if it's going to entail letting go of something, holding on to something, no? Adding on to something, letting go and all that, whatever it is, if you choose it, you're committing to it. And committing would mean that you are going to do, and you're going to be willing to do whatever for that. Okay, so let's take a look at commitment. No? Because love is commitment, love is a choice. Because love is an act of the will. Okay? If you're coming from love, balancing is going to be easier. Okay? So let's see. What are the levels of commitment? Okay? The first level of commitment is pag sinabing, kunwari, uy, gawin mo tong report na to. Okay? Mapanghahawakan mo ba ang sagot na no? Diba? So that's the first level of commitment. No. Wala ka mapanghahawakan nun kasi ayaw niya eh. Okay? What's the second level of commitment? I'll try. Gawin mo yung report na to. I'll try. Sige, subukan ko. Okay? Mapanghahawakan mo ba yon? Magagawa ba niya yung report? Hindi. Okay? Hindi mo panghahawakan yon kasi I'll try lang. Okay? So what's the next level of commitment? I'll do my best. Sige, I'll do my best to do the report. Can you hold on to that? No. Hindi rin. Dahil, I'll try my best lang. It's like, I'll do my best. It's like, yung no, di wala, no? Pag sinabing I'll try, it's just really a polite way of saying no. Okay? Pag sinabing I'll do my best, hindi pa solid. Right? So, hindi mo pang hawakan. So, what's the next level? Can you do this report? Please do this report. I will, but if, so may condition. So, if it's conditional, you cannot hold on to that. Okay? So, what is the level of commitment? When you really, really want to balance it off, you want to be firm, you want to be flexible, you want to integrate both, how will you know if you're going to, whatever it is that you're trying to balance and you make a decision? The level of commitment that we are looking at is the level that says whatever it takes. Okay? That's what commitment is. Now, I would like to end with some tips. Okay, because I have just like 5 minutes, 4 minutes. Okay, tips, and that is in slide number 56. Now, what are the tips? Paano nga ba magbalanse if you're firm or flexible? Unang-una, meron kasi dapat na siniset. So, I have tips ng pre, yung before, during, at saka post. Parang event lang. Okay? Your pre, your during, and your post. Huh? What if you're talking to a co-worker? What if you're talking to one of your staff? One of the tips so you know how to balance is, first and foremost, you have to be grounded. Grounded on what? You need to be grounded on content, your knowledge. Do you know the HR policies? Do you know DOLE? Do you know your company policies? Certain skills, you have to be grounded on that. Also, be grounded on yourself, your self-knowledge, your self-definition, your values, your boundaries. Be grounded on that. Okay? Be grounded on your skills. If you need to learn more how to deliver, what I'm sharing with you is to shift your language. Okay? Yung sa simula, pre, you be grounded with language instead of saying should. Dapat, shift the shoulds to I prefer. I feel. Okay? Those are tips. Of course, you have company rules. Company rules have two. For example, a company rule, be on time, 8 o'clock. Pero preference na lang yun, I prefer if you be in the office 15 minutes before 8 o'clock. That's a preference. That's a difference. There's a difference between what you really need to do, I have to, and when you're delivering something, a decision perhaps that is not hardcore, solid rule, but you need something done. So it's a preference. So instead of should, you can switch your language to I prefer. Okay? Or I feel that. Okay. Another tip, have agreements. Have agreements. Kasi kung wala kayong agreements in the first place, anong pagbabasihan nyo? Anong pwede nyong balansehin? Wala. Walang basihan. Kaya away yun. No? So there's a conflict. That's why even within you, there's a conflict because there's no agreement that were set. Okay? And of course, prior to that, you set boundaries. It's like having agreements also. Okay. Another tip, during. Again, I've mentioned this already, the rule of thumb. Now, while you are giving instructions, while you are speaking, communicating, while you're trying in your mind how to balance off and even how to deliver what you have balanced off as a decision, ang tanong ngayon, paano ko naman ngayon i-deliver? Paano ko sasabihin? Rule of thumb, whatever you could live with. You have decided on something. For example, okay, as a facilitator of even team buildings, there are times, nung may mga outdoor activities, there are times when in outdoor activities, ropes activities, there will be participants who have medical conditions. For example, the participant has a heart ailment. Tapos sasabihin niya, I want to do this rope activity, high events. As a facilitator, I will say, no, you cannot. I'm sorry. Thank you for being here, but I cannot allow you to participate in this event. That's my call. Rule of thumb, judgment calls. How can you do your judgment calls? Whatever you can live with. Because I cannot live with myself kung may mangyari sa kanya. I could live with his irritation. I could live with the fact that just in case magalit siya sa akin, murahin niya ako, sabihin, balik bayad, ganyan. Fine. Okay? But I couldn't live with having an injured person in my seminar or in my program. Okay? So that's rule of thumb. Next is make sure that your actions are aligned with your values. That's why we took a look at your values. Now, if you value this, be mindful, catch yourself kung yung actions mo hindi reflective of your values. Okay? And during that, another is be grounded, which I mentioned this already. You be aware. Okay? Last one, post. Okay? Pagkatapos na, nakapag-decision ka, di-deliver mo na, when you are going to balance off here, deciding, and when you're balancing off the words, you're balancing off the words, the way you're going to say it, the way you're going to do it, check your commitment. What are you willing to do? And this is the biggest tip. Come from contribution. Always, always come from contribution. If after giving a decision and you have delivered that decision, you're trying to balance it off, saying it, after you have said it, o sige, tanungin mo yung kausap mo, okay, how can I help? How can I support you? Always come from contribution. Kailangan ko muna kayong i-lay off. So how can I support you? Anak, hindi kita makakausap ngayon kasi work from home si daddy. I have to do my work. What can I help you with? Okay? So what support do you need? Dad, kailangan ko ng load para hindi kita istorbohin. Ganyan. Para magpo-phone na lang ako, hindi kita istorbohin. So come from contribution. Okay? Always come from contribution. And lastly, of course, why are you trying to balance everything off? Because you need to be that safe place. Okay? That safe place for your workmates, for your family if you're at home working. You know, be that safe place. What do I mean about being that safe place? When that person can be himself while you can also be yourself. Be firm with who you are and what you're not. Okay? Again, this is what I am, this is what I'm not, and I'm okay with both. I'm safe. If I'm safe with myself, knowing and not knowing, then the person can be safe with you also. Because you're not coming from a need. You don't need them to see you as the boss. You don't need them to see you as the magaling one. You don't need them to recognize your efforts. You're just safe because I don't need to prove anything. I'm okay with what I am. I'm okay with what I'm not. And I'm okay with both. When you're safe by yourself, you know what to balance. Okay? Set your boundaries coming from your own personal values, and you're safe with yourself. Then you're safe with others. Okay? Because in so doing, when people feel safe with you, it's a way for them to see that perhaps there's something more to this life. And so they can be safe also with trusting the world, trusting God, trusting your company. It's really all that because you have been that safe place for them because you're balanced, because you're fair. Okay? So with that, I think my presentation is done because it's 4 o'clock. Um, Miss Janet, Miss Neddy, sa last slide, Miss Janet, I'd just like to show them, yes, that one. Kindly press, when you press enter, a video will show. Because I really, really would like to show this. No, I am very happy with how someone did this animation. Ginawan ko ng logo sarili ko. Kasi gusto ko. And it's not because I'm in Palawan and it's all islands here, but I've been awarded a starfish way back 2002 by one of those higher seminars I attended, and I am I feel grateful that way because what a starfish is, ang starfish parang inisip na wala siya talagang brain, parang ganyan. But actually, very complex yung, very integral and very integrated, integral, central yung brain ng isang starfish, and I'd like to see myself as that, such that a starfish, when it's in the water, or when you're going to touch it, it's kind of soft. Pero kung titingnan mo, it's actually solid, very solid, and it has all these ways, links, because it has all these tentacles. So it's really a great way for me to take a look at what I am blessed with, and so that's what I am bringing to you this afternoon. So thank you very, very much for being here, and I hope you stay. I hope you stay. Hindi na sabi yata kanina, I hope you stay because we'll be giving away coaching sessions. Just
We'll
one
be giving
coaching
three.
session for.
Three, ma'am. Three.
Oh, yeah,
Three.
three.
Three coaching.
Three sessions. But
Yes.
yung tatlo na yon, tigi-tigi isang session. That's what I mean. Okay, so there will be 3 people. We are choosing from the ones who have attended, the ones who will stick until later, no? Who will stay until later, even after the photo shoot. We're going to have, we're going to choose. Spin the wheel, right?
Yes,
so
you all have to.
Who are these 3 people who would have a coaching session with me?
Yes, ma'am. Kailangan lang po nilang mag-fill up sa attendance, sa last attendance and feedback form na pinost po natin sa Facebook Live at sa chat box. Bago po matapos ang ating webinar this afternoon, pipiliin natin ang 3 na mananalo ng free coaching from our life coach, Jolinne Pamatmat. Yes.
Yan, no, di ba?
Okay. Ano masabi mo, Ma'am Julina?
So,
Siyempre.
Sana, pwede ba tayong
Excited na
sumali?
pwede pa kasama din kami.
Oo, sige, ang saya niyan.
Fill up na po.
For the ones who are aware of what coaching is, I hope you all know that the value of coaching is not just the time that I spend with you. Okay? The time that I spend with you is just that time. It's important. It's valuable. But what value coaching brings you is that the conversation you're going to have with me will impact your life. And that impact is more valuable than just 1 hour, than just a few minutes. Or if need be, baka mag 2 hours tayo, I'm willing to give that time. Yeah, I'm willing to give that time for free. And yet, the value would be more than the worth of just 2 hours. Okay, so kindly check also on FB. I've yet to really go full blown online, no? But you could check Soul Sidekick. It's the one with the praying hands. That's an FB page I have. So I hope you could get in touch with me as well through the Gmail that is flashed on the screen, so that I don't know if it's still flashing on the screen, Miss Janet. Is it still there? So that you can get in touch with me. So if I don't see it, but yung last na slide with the video of the starfish. So that's the one with the two black pillars on the side. So there, my email address is there, JolinnePamatmat@gmail.com. Wrong spelling wrong, so make sure it reaches me. So there, or you could reach me through the page, the Soul Side page. Okay. I would have wanted to coach someone today for just a few minutes. I'm not sure if we have time for that. Do we have time for that, Miss Neddy? Thank you, Sir Edwin. You love this session. Thank you. um, Miss Neddy, Miss Janet, do we have time for either coaching or Q&A?
Yes,
Yeah,
we have time for Q&A.
we would like to open
Mm.
the floor now for a question and answer if you have like something to ask or to clarify, because the session was
Yeah.
really
Perhaps you know that
amazing.
the beautiful thing here is, sige, sa chat muna. Let's hear some questions.
You may chat your questions.
Okay. So let's see.
Okay, so we have a
So if you
question
have questions,
from the
in chat.
attendance form
Yes
that
po.
we sent for the Google Forms. So the first question we have is, how can we effectively balance being firm and flexible in any situation at work?
At work. Now, for example, most of you asked about time and workload. Okay? Nung nagtanong ako, what do you normally balance? And a lot of you answered time and workload. Now, how do you balance that? One of the things you need to remember about time is you don't need to give equal time to each area of your life. 2 hours at work, 2 hours with my wife, 2 hours with my children. No, that's not balance, and that's not the way you manage your time. What you can do is to identify, syempre, tingnan mo muna at your present. How much time are you spending with your wife? For example, I'm spending time with my wife on a normal day, let's say 1 hour. What's your ideal then? So that's your present. So what's your ideal? I would like to spend, let's say, 2.5 hours. So let's say 3 hours. So that's your ideal. So what you need to do now is to check saan ka kukuha ng oras. Okay? So it's not that you're going to try to make sure that all parts of your life have equal measure of time. Okay? So that's how you can balance off. It's not really equal, it's how you could integrate. Okay, so if I'm going to give my wife 30 more minutes of my time, then perhaps magbabawas ako ng paglalagay ng gel sa buhok ko. Ganyan. So where can you get that time? Okay? Workload. How can you balance your workload and your time? Okay. I mentioned to you, of course, we're taking a look at, okay, so what will you be firm with and what will you be flexible with? Okay. So, deadlines, you know what you know about deadlines? Deadlines, check if there's hard deadlines, right? Check if it's a hard deadline, then that's a non-negotiable. You have to be firm about it. Okay? What you can be flexible about in terms of workload is the way you do your work. Okay? That's why hindi to absolute answers. You need to really know how to integrate. For example, workload. Pag sinabing workload, is it sa dami ng work? I'll just come perhaps from my son said, he's in college. Siya yung first batch ng senior high. And he said, there's just really too much work. It's the quantity. It's not that I don't know how to manage my time, because my son manages his time well. It's just that there's really too much work. And I believe at this point in time, online work, digital work work that has been from face-to-face, from paperwork, from hard copy, magiging soft copy, that the process of that. And the reality of online has blurred the lines of, you know how it is na minsan, hihintayin mo na lang makauwi ka bago mo tingnan ng isang bagay. Ngayon, hindi. The cell phone is there. Messenger is there. Viber is there. Parang, kung titingnan nyo, when something pops, when something pings, yung mga sound ng messenger sound, Viber sound, di ba parang it invades your personal space? Honestly. Parang, I don't need this right now, pero ini-invade niya yung personal space mo. So, that's why you need to set boundaries. Set boundaries with yourself. And the thing about balancing of workload and time is discipline, is self-control. If you say you're going to work hindi ka mag-work ng lunchtime, huwag mong dalhin yung trabaho mo sa harap ng pagkain, nor dalhin mo yung pagkain sa harap ng trabaho mo. Okay? Now, there are some, of course, yung guidelines ngayon. Ang sabi ng guidelines ng health protocol, kumain na lang daw sa desk para social distancing. Okay, pero mag-boundary ka. Will you eat and focus on eating without looking at your computer? You see, so you manage your time, you manage your stress level, you manage your workload that way. So you could balance it all. Okay? So I hope I answered your question. Now, may nakita ko kanina. What are the words of encouragement for people who are trying to balance? Words of encouragement, you can do it. Sobrang, I know you can do it. As long as you're going to put your mind into it, na kaya mo to put the lines. See, that's the challenge of being firm and being flexible, is when you're not firm about your own personal boundaries. Because if you're the one crossing your own boundary and you're too flexible, that's when you get stressed. Okay? So you balance it off. Be firm, you be flexible, depending on what? Your values. Depending on what you value, because what you value creates the boundaries.
Yes.
Okay? So,
Okay, Miss Jolinne, we have another question from our Google Forms. So, what takeaways or advice
Okay
would
po.
you like to give us to further properly manage the human resource environment?
I'm sorry, you got cut.
Okay. To further properly manage the human resource environment.
Okay. The human resource environment is essentially people. Okay? And people are dynamic. And when people are dynamic, hindi siya one size fits all. Kaya the challenge there is how to tailor fit. Same policy, same rules, but you need to tailor fit how you talk according to who you're speaking with. You need to tailor fit how you give instructions, how you deliver the words. Okay? So, for example, an advice, in terms of speech, okay, in terms of communication, so that you could balance off your communication, the key to communication is always clarity. Okay? The key to communication is always clarity. You need to be clear. How do you know if you came across? And what is the advice in terms of communicating? No? One, remember that how you process information is different from how another person processes information. How I give an instruction is different from how the person would receive it. Okay? So what do? Come from contribution. Ask the person to ask how the person understood. Paano mo naintindihan yung sinabi ko? naging klaro ba yung sinabi ko? Anong support ang kailangan mo para mas maging klaro to sa'yo? Okay? If you need to tailor fit in terms of, so one is clarity. Another in terms of being able to balance off your language, to balance off kung magre-react yung kausap mo o hindi, to balance off your reactions also. How can you manage yourself and balance off your emotions? Is if you are going to make sure that you tailor fit your language in terms of levels of processing information. Siguro one concrete example would be if you're talking to someone young or older or talagang senior. Remember, when you're talking to a senior, di ba pwede mong sabihin, do you comprehend? So that's what I mean, you tailor fit your language. Kapag tinanong mo ang isang medyo nakakatanda, do you comprehend? Yun yung lengguwahe niya. Kapag medyo mas bata-bata pero middle age, may ganyan, pwede mong tanongin, do you understand? Okay? Tailor fit sa kanya. Kapag medyo bata-bata ang kausap mo, di ba? As much as you would like to be very professional, but sometimes you tailor fit your kausap. What if your staff is, depende sa trabaho niya, depende sa level or position in the company. Pag medyo bata-bata, di ba tinatanong mo gets? So, do you comprehend? Do you understand? Gets? Kasi depende sa kausap. Now, that's what I mean. When clarity is always the key when you're communicating. Balance of being firm and being flexible by tailor fitting to the way the person processes information. And not only according to how you understand things. Kasi the way you understand, iba yung filters mo eh. Iba yung pag-edit mo eh. Iba yung perception mo sa kanya. So, when you're trying to balance off, will I be strict? Okay, this is probably one tip. I'm sharing this tip because it has worked for me. It might not work for everyone, but this has worked for me. Whenever I would meet a group of people for the first time, okay, I set boundaries and I set the tone for me and for them, how they're going to be with me. Okay, what do I do? This is how I say, this is sinasabi ko. You can joke around with me. You can approach me. You can talk to me about anything. Okay? But when it comes to work, hindi ako mag-aatubiling mampuna. Okay? Minsan nga I would, and then minsan. There are times when sinasabi ko, I even introduce myself, I'm Miss Minchin, I'm strict, but you can joke around and all that. So in a way, it has worked for me because I can see people having that balance of, they're not scared of me because I'm strict, but they appreciate it also and they understand when I correct, when I give instructions, when I give hard deadlines, when I give hard results. I need this, I need this. They don't get mad because nagpasabi na ako una eh. So that's what I mean about having these agreements, having, you set up the stage. Okay?
Yes.
So that's one tip.
Yes, I completely agree, Miss Jolinne, regarding setting expectations right away from the start to avoid misunderstandings and to avoid harsh feelings as well.
Yeah.
Right. So I
Because
think
they
Miss
know na what to
Jolinne,
expect from you.
we have some more questions. Actually, marami pa pong question, Miss Jolinne. Kaya pa ba? We have here. One of our participants are actually...
Alam mo yung sabi ni Captain America? Sabi ni Captain America, I can do this all day. Oh, yeah.
Siyempre, kaya-kaya ni
I can do
Ma'am
this all day,
Jolinne
but probably
yan.
they cannot. So yeah, let's
Okay,
accommodate what we can accommodate. That's fine.
Okay, so here's one, ma'am. Sabi niya, what can you advise to employees na nakakaramdam minsan na parang di na nila alam yung reason kung bakit sila pumapasok sa trabaho? So parang wala na yung heart niya siguro.
Yeah, yung feeling nila na de-demotivate sila or na de-demoralize sila, no? Or they just don't have the gumption to go to work. Okay? So one, Babalik tayo dun eh. So what do you value?
Yeah.
Right.
Why do you go to work? What do you value? What's your purpose for work? Because most of the time we kind of forget or derail from the purpose that we go to work for. Bakit ka gumigising sa umaga? Diba? Yung commercial na yun. Bakit ka bumabangon sa umaga? You just might have forgotten what your purpose is, but more than your purpose, I think you need to go back to taking a look at you, because you actually have forgotten that there's something worth about you na kailangan ka actually. Kailangan ka ng mundo. Kasi parang na pangibabawan ka that even if you do have the confidence, you're aware, no? Alam mo kung ano yung galing mo, alam mo kung ano yung worth mo, alam mo yun. But perhaps the perception is towards the self. If you're going to switch your perception that I am blessed with all this, I can do this, I have a job. Okay? So, yung perception mo, move outwards. So, what am I? What can I contribute? What can I do? What can I offer? May value kasi yung galing ko eh. May value kasi yung skills ko. If we're going to shift our perception from ourselves to outside, then perhaps that's one way to be motivated again. Another is, first and foremost, take a look what demotivates you. Okay? Unang-una, ano bang nakaka-demotivate sa'yo? Is it the commute to the office? Is it the way your boss talks to you? Whatever it is, the thing that you need to take a look at when you're demotivated, it's the same as when you're stressed. It's the same as yung ganon, no? So, tingnan mo kung, so, what are your boundaries uli yun eh? What are your boundaries? What demotivates you? Okay, now I remember. Sorry, nag-glitch yung utak ko. The question to ask when you're demotivated, when you're stressed is the situation within your control or is it not within your control? Tingnan niyo siya. Is it within your control? Is it not within your control? If it's within your control, then what can you do? Okay, what can you do? Wait, it's my screen. Okay, so I hope I didn't lose you. So, yun yung pwedeng tanong. Am I still on? Wait, I think.
Yes,
okay.
yes,
Ah, yes, ma'am, yes.
Apa.
We can hear
You're still
everything
on.
that you're saying.
So,
Yeah.
okay. For the ones who are demotivated, are stressed, or going through certain internal conflicts, ang tanong nyo is, or yung mga sad, tanongin nyo, yung sitwasyon ba within your control or not within your control? Which part of the situation is within your control? If there's a part of the situation that is within your control, then that means you can do something about it. Now, for the ones na hindi within your control, kung wala kang magagawa kasi ganun talaga. Parang wala kang magagawa kung ganun talaga yung boss mo. Diba? Wala kang magagawa, yun talaga yung company policy. No? Doon sa mga bagay na hindi mo makokontrol, learn acceptance, learn how to be at peace with that, and you refocus, divert your attention to what you can do.
Yes.
But
And
pero
most of
kung
the
talagang
time,
iniinda mo, yung hindi mo makontrol, kapag iniinda mo siya talaga, I'm letting you know, in the seminars that I used to facilitate, or in the leadership seminars, it's not part of this kasi, but it's a leadership seminar. When you resist something, in the seminar we have this saying, what you resist persists. So, kung ano yung kinaiinisan mo, kung ano yung nire-resist mo, kay tao yan, kay sitwasyon yan, babalik at babalik yan, hindi yan matatanggal. So, kailangan mo lang i-accept. Tanggapin mo lang siya.
Yes, tama. And
Yeah, yun lang. Tanggapin mo lang siya. Wala na magagawa dyan.
yes,
So,
syempre.
again, What can you control? What is within your control? What is not within your control? If it's within your control, do something about it.
Exactly.
And then most times siguro kasi Miss Jolene, no, and Miss Jolinne, it everything falls on how we react or how we respond. Sometimes kasi people tends to be reactionist of a situation instead of
Mm-mm.
like acting on it or doing something about it.
Mm-mm. Exactly.
Perhaps, yeah, a reaction is a reaction. What you can do is to accept that you're reacting. It's an initial reaction. Pero, wag kang tumambay dun.
Like don't
Accept that
dwell.
it's a
Don't dwell.
reaction. So, but the thing, you see, one of the things that I know in terms of reacting, whenever you have a reaction kasi, it entails your emotions.
Mm.
Okay? So, it's like going back to the topic, which is still topic, being firm and flexible. If you're feeling a certain feeling because you're acting towards a person or towards a situation, make sure na niramdam mo talaga yung pakiramdam. Okay? Aminin mo sa sarili mo at pakiramdaman mo talaga yung sarili mo. Kapag malungkot ka, aminin mong malungkot ka, tapos magpakalungkot ka. Hindi ko sinabing magpakalugmok ka, ha? Hindi ko rin sinabing paggalit ka, magwala ka, mag-hysterical ka, mag-amo ka. No, what I'm saying is, admit to yourself the emotion that you have, allow yourself the emotion until maubos na yung emotion. Until pwede mo nang sabihin na, graduate na ako sa emotion na to, I can move on. Okay? That's the thing about reactions. There are times when you react, consider it an initial reaction, then move on. Okay? But if you're reacting towards a person or a situation that is more than superficial to you, so paano kung talagang sobrang importante, medyo deep ang reaction mo? Allow yourself the emotion. But you need to graduate from the emotion instead of denying na I know I'm okay, no, I'm emotion na yon. Then it will affect how you're going to balance another part of your life or another part of your day. So if it's something very, very important, the gravity of importance, the gravity of value is deeper, then your emotions will be deeper, your reaction will be deeper. Allow yourself that. Allow yourself the emotion and then graduate from it. Mararamdaman mo naman kapag pagod ka na rin magalit eh. Kapag pagod ka na rin malungkot. Then you move on.
So, Miss Jolinne, thank you for that. There's like a lot of key takeaways that we had for this session. Actually, sobrang marami pa po talagang tanong, such as is
Yes, ang
leaving your
dami
job the
talaga.
best decision or the best choice? There's a lot more, not only in chat, in Facebook Live, and in our Google form. There's a lot, and I hope we have more than enough time to process all of this. But we just wanted like to sum up the key takeaways of most of us during this event, no? I think what struck me the most during this talk, Miss Jolinne, is that this is entirely different from the previous a lot of leadership training I attended to, wherein like most of the skills being honed or developed or touched are more on like competencies. This one, hindi lang isip yung tinouch ni Miss Jolinne, no? It touched our heart also. How come like leadership would really like speak about or is a manifestation of love? So it's amazing to realize all of these things. Being in leadership for 2 decades already, these
Mm-mm.
inputs are really fresh. Kumbaga, it is news to me. And it's amazing how a leader could really like bundle a sense of faith and a sense of love towards like leading people, managing them, making the most of their capabilities and driving their interest towards achieving the goals. It's really amazing and really 2 thumbs up for Miss Jolinne. Thank you so much for
Okay,
sharing your
thumbs
time
up.
with us. 2 thumbs up. And now,
Thank
not
you.
only that we were given like a lot
Thank
of
you.
inputs, new inputs from Miss Jolinne, we are also being given away with 3 slots for free life coaching. And I hope mapili yung name ko dito. So there,
Sumali ka ba,
may
ma'am?
endorse Miss Nettie for the
Sumali
Spill
ka
the
ba,
Milk
ma'am?
portion.
Parang hindi ko nakita yung name mo dyan, ma'am eh.
Oh my God!
Parang hindi yata tayo kasali. So, first 3 na lang po muna kasi kulang na tayo sa oras.
Ano na kayo, the privileged few.
Okay, let's spin.
Parang tuwing meeting natin, coaching.
First winner of 3,
Miss Janet. Okay, so there's a winner.
Miss Princess Alma
Yes!
Papillona.
Yay! Okay!
Anote na lang po.
Pinagpala.
Yes.
Pinagpala talaga.
Second winner.
Yay!
Janet Memorasyon.
Tuwa talaga ako
Ay,
with
John,
ang
may
yun.
memorasyon.
Joanna
Johnny Togno.
Tugenyo. Yan.
Okay.
Congratulations po.
Congratulations, Jonah G. Togueno.
Last winner. Pangatlo po. Baka gusto pa ni Ma'am...
Jorina Kaparal.
Baka gusto ni Ma'am Jolinne dagdagan. And
Ma.
our last winner,
Lovely B.
Maria Lovely B. Moreno.
Siguro sa susunod na webinar, we'll give away another 3, another set.
Yes, honestly po yung mga nanalong tatlo, medyo matagal na natin kasama. Tama ba, Ma'am Zorina?
Yes, syempre, kahit last year pa.
Yes,
Last
lagi
year
siya
pa.
dito, actually.
Wow!
Yan.
Loyalty pays.
Yes, para
Loyalty pays off.
yes po, para po sa sa mga loyal na kasama natin since na last year, magkakaroon po ng additional benefits pa ang HR Calabarzon dahil bukod po sa binabayaran yung 50 pesos minimal fee for membership fee na makakakuha po kayo ng e-certificate, marami pa pong inihanda ang HR Calabarzon
Yan,
sa inyo.
syempre, only the best po para sa ating community. Syempre.
Yes. Ayan. Ma'am Janet. And syempre, kung tayo nag-umpisa, tayo magpapaalam na.
Okay,
Alright.
syempre. Ayan, okay. So, syempre, wag po nating kakalimutan ang ating awarding of certificate. Ayan. Okay, Miss Janet, will you do the honors?
Okay, all right. So, Ms. Jolinne, on behalf of HR Calabarzon Group, we award the certificate of participation to you for sharing invaluable knowledge and expertise as a resource speaker for the 22nd HRE Knowledge entitled HR Leaders, a Balancing Act of Firm and Flexible via Zoom and Facebook Live, given the 17th day of April 27, 2021, signed Jorina Caparal, our co-founder and co-host, yours truly, Janet Memoracion, and Ms. Nettie Estrella, our founder and co-host for this afternoon event. Please acknowledge this certificate of appreciation, Ms. Jolinne Pamatmat.
Woo!
Virtual class!
Thank you very much.
Virtual
Everyone, it's always a pleasure to be one of your resource leaders. Also, perhaps something that I'd like to throw to the audience, and perhaps we could just create an invitation, because the book, A Safe Place for a Child, is out of print. Sold out na kasi yan. So what I'm planning to do is to have it reprinted. I'm actually planning to relaunch. So if people would like to have a copy, so I would know. Now, perhaps they could email you. A Safe Place for a Child, just to give them an idea, is not just a parenting book. It's not just a parenting book. A lot of the ones I got as a review, it's like a memoir na how to, na self-discovery. It might look like a parenting book, but it's a leadership book. It's a relationship book. It's a communication book. What is it? It's in the format, para lang alam niyo, hindi kayo magulat. It's in the format of a letter to my son, Dominic. Why did I do
Oh.
this? Why did I write it? Because one time he asked me, now he was around 11 or 12 years old at that time. He asked me while we were having dinner, the two of us, Mama, how did you raise me? Siyempre, I was floored. I was dumbfounded. Natameme ako sa tanong na yun. How did you raise me? And he continued because I wasn't able to answer. I was floored with the question. So what? And then he continued. He said, Mama, I'm asking so that whatever you're teaching me, if I could have children, I could teach them too. So sabi ko, oh my goodness, my son, a young boy, would like to learn from me. So it was like a trophy. Right? It was a very heartwarming grand trophy for me. And it was a signal for me, like a go signal that I could write and give them and give him and others who are going to read it a way to know how to be with another person. Ay, ganun. No? So it's that. It's but you know, as he grew up, we have this conversation minsan, biniro niya ako. Sabi niya, Mama, you know what? I asked a simple question, you answered me with a book. As in, tinatanong ko, libro pa. Sagot mo. So, but that's something for me is my son is a legacy, and it's a book is a legacy as well. It is something that I would like for me to continue being a parent to my son, even if I pass away. Even this work that I do, why I do this work is because it's contribution for me. That every time I give, ang balik nito, the abundance of of the Lord, the abundance of the universe, the abundance around us. Once you give, meron at merong babalik. Hindi man dun mula sa pinagbigyan, no? But it will come back. And the giving that I do, I'd love for the balik to trickle to my son. So this is essentially, for my son. I do this because I'd love to be able to take care of my son even if I pass away. And I know that when we give, there will always be something that will come back. And I know my son will be a recipient of that. So yeah. So let's keep on giving para may babalik at babalik, not just to us, but to future generations. To
That's
whatever it is
right.
that
To be able to receive, you have to give para daw mabawasan yung laman ng kamay mo at makatanggap ka ulit ng mas marami pang biyaya. That's right. Thank you very much. Okay, so
what you
maybe
sow, so shall you reap.
right, correct. It all comes back, no? Life is like that. Okay, so
Yes,
since we are
yes.
almost nearing towards the end of our session, we are actually like overtime for 40 minutes because it's really an amazing talk. I think we would like to call on Ms. Rose to give us introduce to us those persons or companies that have helped us realize this activity, no, have supported us. Ms. Rose, take it
Thank you
on.
so much, Miss Janet, and to everyone. Miss Jolinne, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. There's a lot of
Thank you.
feed coming from the chat room, thanking you and everyone who participated, and thank you for the learning session. But for
Thank you very much.
yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. And for this day, would like to say our appreciation as well for our sponsors for this day, St. Peter, Lifelines and Chapels. So if you are in need of any life plans, please do contact Miss Neddy Estrella at 0906-484-6339. That's one of our sponsor. And also our Caparal Appliances and Furniture. Okay, they have branches in Luzon, like Silang sa Litran, mostly in Cavite, and I think they have their page for their stores, branches, and the contact numbers when you can get your appliances and furnitures online. Okay, next our sponsor is Grupo Bino Incorporated. They supply medical or like alcohols, which is really needed at this time. So please contact their page at Google or at their website. Just type in Grupo Bino. Okay. Thank you. And also to Bricks Power Incorporated. Okay, so if you're in need of your outsourcing services for HR, IT, accounting, and payroll, please do call Bricks Power Incorporated services. Okay, I think they also have their sites online. And next, one of our sponsor is Sabon Factory, which is also located in Tansa or in Cavite. So you may contact their numbers at us at their Facebook page. Okay. And then Zorina's Home Depot. Yan. So appliances and furniture store as well. So check out the Facebook link, and their store and office are located in Imus, Cavite. Okay, thank you, Ms. Zorina. And of course, our Confetti Corner. Yan, AMD Collections Fashion Boutique, which is located in Talisay, Batangas. Okay, thank you so much to our sponsors, to our speaker for today, for all the learnings, to all the co-hosts, and to everyone who participated in this learning session. We learned a lot, from just being firm, flexible, to balancing, to what is love, and taking actions and having fun. Okay? So thank you, everyone.
Ayan.
And
Okay. Yan.
okay, so to close our program, may we call on Sir Arvin, who's also one of our board of directors here at HR Calabarzon Group. Sir
Hello,
Arvin.
good afternoon everyone. Yun. So in behalf of HR Calabarzon, we would like to thanks everyone for your time. And also wag po tayong magsasawang umattend kasi every week mas marami pa tayong learnings na i-share namin sa inyo. And also we would like to thank you Ma'am Jolinne Pamatmat. Tama ba yung aking pronunciation ng pangalan? For having me today, for sharing uh, her knowledge, and ang dami ko talagang natutunan. As well, tama mga mga ka-HR, BOD kong mga ka-HR. So, with that po, can you please open your video po for
Yan,
a
okay.
mandatory pictures, tama?
Yan. Yes, our picture taking after every webinar. So, lagi po tayong merong ganyan.
So, sino yung magkiklik ng ating video?
Yan, si Miss Neddy ata ang magpipicture.
Okay? So,
Okay.
ready na po ba lahat?
Oh, handa na. Okay, smile. Smile
Okay.
tayong lahat.
Alright, first row po. Miss
Ma'am
Neddy,
Jolinne.
ready na?
Si Ma'am Jolinne, di naka-okay. Okay.
Yan, okay. So, turn on your videos.
Okay.
Smile.
1, 2, 3, smile. Okay?
Next slide po.
Next slide. Okay po, pa-open na lang po ng video Miss Mika, Shan, Judy Ann, Julius, Rico, Emmanuel, Richard, Maricar.
Yan.
Okay,
Alright.
yan.
Okay, so
Nakikita na ang magagandang mga ngiti at mga magaganda nating kasama dito sa HR Calabarzon.
oo, puro ang babata
Na-feel natin
okay?
ang age natin.
Yes. Age
Na-
is only a number.
Huwag niyo masyadong sabihing bata sila kasi bata rin tayo.
Okay?
Yan.
Alright. 1, 2, 3, smile.
Smile! Yung naka-face mask, naka-smile.
Okay po. Okay na
Third
po.
row po.
Okay, next one. Last
Yan.
row.
Pa-open po ng mga videos. Third row.
So, hindi natin alam kung sino yung third row.
Oo. Sila Mika, Revilla, Rodora, Shan, Danica, Emmanuel, Gladys, Lizelle, Rico, Richard, Erlinda, Angelica, and Heraline, and Marijoy Pagal.
Ayan. Ang dami ko nang kuha ng picture.
Ayan, okay.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, smile. Alright, so tapos na po. Wala nang ibang row.
Wala na
Wala
po.
na, okay.
Thank you so
Congratulations po sa
much.
nanalo. Yung mga nanalo
Maraming-
natin ngayon, ma'am. Pwede po
Oo.
banggitin ulit ang mga pangalan nila at mag-message po sila sa HR Collaboration.
Okay, we have Princess on Babylonia, Joanna Tubueno, and Maria Lovey Moreno. Congratulations. Enjoy your free coaching. Thank you, Miss
Ah.
Ana Jolinne. Have a
Thank you
good
so
day,
much.
everyone.
Salamat po. Sana po patuloy po ang pagsuporta nyo sa HR Calabarzon. Marami po kayo na mga nakasama namin since last year pa and I hope na tuloy pa rin po ang inyong pagsusuporta.
Gusto ko lang po mag-hi kay Ma'am Sharon Oliveras, kay Ma'am Ramona Oliveros, kay Ma'am Maria Lovely, yung isa sa nanalo. Marami pa nandito eh. Kay Ma'am April Rose, kay Doc, nandito si Doc kanina, at saka si Sir Alessandro.
Hi, Doc. Laging support si Doc. Thank
Kaya nga
you.
po eh. Yan po, mula po ulit sa Board of Directors and HR Founders and Co-Founder, nagpapasalamat po kami sa muli niyong pagsama sa amin. Nawa po'y makasama namin kayo next week. Meron tayong next week. And,
Yan!
of course, syempre yung Mayo natin, Ma'am Jurina. Yung
Oo.
Mayo natin ay dahil
Maganda yung
Labor
plano
Day.
namin dyan.
Dahil Labor Day, araw ng mga manggagawa.
Ala ko, may pa-labor.
Ay,
Wala po. Pero pag-uusapan natin ang tungkol sa mga labor. Labor Relation 101 with Sir Darwin Rivers. We also have Sir Jojo Resio. And we have Ma'am Daisy Calianta.
Yay!
Okay.
Kita-kita po ulit tayo next week. Maraming salamat po.
maraming
Bye po.
salamat.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you,
Paalam. Bye-bye.
everyone. Keep safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ingat po sa mga nasa work pa.